All right, for more on this, we're now being joined by Major General Neeraj Bali, Sena Medal, Indian Army veteran and Director, Gyan Chakra Think Tank. Welcome to WION, General Bali.
Thank you.
First up, of course, how do you see the new normal set by India when it comes to ties with Pakistan shaping up, with India clearly stating that the cost of terror has been increased and India has not lost sight of anyone involved in terror? Do you think that this is enough of a deterrent against terrorism emanating from Pakistan?
We can never assume that any deterrent is going to be enough when you're dealing with an enemy which doesn't believe in rational behavior, as was on display even last evening after the ceasefire violation came into place. But it is for us to do clear and unmistakable messaging. And I think today's comprehensive briefing did exactly that, where it was clearly laid out that if any further acts of violence will be met with a response, which will have consequences. In fact, General Ghai used the words, the response will be fierce and punitive. So I think we have very clearly laid out the new norms of interaction between the two countries. There has been far too many terrorist attacks on our country, and which we have sometimes retaliated against and sometimes we haven't. But now we have laid down a clear red line that should there be another terrorist attack, another violation of that kind, it is going to be considered an act of war. So I think this is a big departure from what we have done all these years.
Right, General Bali, I was just going to ask you the fact as to how India's stance towards terrorism and its approach has changed, but you've clearly answered there. Punitive and strong retaliation was the overall theme of that briefing. What also stood out in that briefing was the fact that Pakistan's NSA had called his Indian counterpart to stop the hostilities, and then the ceasefire was broken yesterday by Pakistan. There's, of course, a relative calm today, but can Pakistan be trusted?
I'm afraid Pakistan has given us every single evidence over the years that it's not trustworthy. One thing which was on display was last evening, which was pretty inexplicable to start with. You had the two DGMOs speaking at 3:35. The ceasefire came into effect at 5 p.m., 1700 hours. And as early as by 6 o'clock in the evening, the ceasefire had been violated. Now, it appears to me that there is either a division within the Pakistani army, and there is an element, we've been referring to it as a rogue element, in this case, a rogue formation or a rogue division, people who are not willing to accept the ceasefire. If that is the case, if our supposition is right, and if this kind of violation persists, then I think we should expect some turmoil in the next 24 to 48 to 72 hours, internal turmoil for Pakistan, because they seem to be speaking with a forked tongue. On one end, the DGMO spoke to our DGMO, so therefore the army chief was on board. The Prime Minister went to media and praised President Trump and the ceasefire. Thereafter, he addressed the nation. And today, they celebrated it as a Thanksgiving Day. So all in all, looks like much of Pakistan's polity, it was desperate to have ceasefire and has accepted it. But there was an element which broke it yesterday. We got to be vigilant. We have to watch how things shape out in the next few days. Yes, thankfully, everything is peaceful right now. But to go back to your original comment, no, we cannot trust. And we need to verify all the time.
Last question to you. Of course, in that briefing by the armed forces, there were strategic objectives that India achieved and that was laid down. Your thoughts on what India gained from Operation Sindoor?
We gained a great deal. Well, let's start with what did the Prime Minister say after Pahalgam? He said it with as much clarity as possible, that we were going to go after the terrorists. At no point was there an objective to go after military infrastructure, certainly not civilians. And we have assiduously stuck to that. We went after military infrastructure only after Pakistanis escalated the conflict by doing that to us. So as far as we are concerned, the original aim that we had set for ourselves, going after the terrorists, was absolutely achieved. And today's briefing showed unmistakable evidence of how the Air Force had done a great job in striking those targets, and in fact striking all the targets accurately. I think this also has sent Pakistan a new message. So far, our response used to be just one-on-one. We struck in Balakot, we struck inside the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. But now we have gone beyond that, and we have struck at what is widely considered as the heart of Pakistan.
Right.
That is Punjab. So I think, as far as we are concerned, I don't think we need to quibble too much over what other objectives we should have achieved, because what we set out to do, we have clearly achieved.
Right, General Bali, and of course India giving out a very strong message to Pakistan that we will hit you and we will hit you in your heartland. But thanks very much for joining us and sharing your insights here with us.
Thank you.